Choose wisely. I'm sure we've all had a few moments we can think back on when someone said something that wounded us. Whether intentional, thoughtless, malicious, or simply ignorant, the words left a mark on us that we remember, and we can still feel their sting. And if we're completely honest, I'm sure each of us has said something that the instant we said it, we thought, I wish I hadn't said that. Or you wish you hadn't said it in that way. The Bible's very clear on this point, that the tongue is sharper than any two-edged sword. And in fact, it says that the tongue holds the power of blessing or cursing, and even the power of life or death. What we say matters. It matters on many levels. It tells people about our hearts. And we should be concerned with that above all else. Because that's what God sees when He looks at us, our hearts. This is why we should always think before we speak. And if we know that someone has carelessly misspoken something toward us, then we should have the wisdom to look beyond the hurt we feel, to try to find the deeper meaning in their words. At the very least, we should give them a chance to explain before we lock those words in a deep place that may affect us for years to come. It is always better to make the effort to understand and forgive than to choose to take offense and resent. But let's talk about something else for a brief moment. Something much more subtle than our words. Let's talk about our thoughts. And now we're up into everybody's privacy. What I think is my business. That's what usually pops into our minds when anyone questions what we're thinking. But what we think is almost always what we become. God tells us to think on things that are noble and true, honest and beautiful. He tells us to take every thought captive and make it subject to the mind of Christ. How many times in our minds have we repeatedly pondered things that have kept us bound in our dysfunction? Our thoughts and attitudes are as important to control as any aspect of our lives because they lead us into action. For example, we were just talking about the things that comes out of our mouths, which is an action, but it began with a thought. I know that I have frequently spent way too many hours thinking about the cutting thing that I will say to shut somebody's mouth the next time they do or say that thing that they do that rubs me the wrong way. Instead, what I should do is ask the Holy Spirit of God to control my thoughts and attitudes and speak for me the next time I am offended in that way. It honors God, gives me peace, and maybe, just maybe, the offending party will even hear God speaking through me and have their own attitude refined. So, the thought that I would like for us to take away from this is to choose wisely. Choose wisely what we focus our thoughts on, and choose wisely the words that come from our mouths. If we can do this, perhaps we can spare others and ourselves the sting of hurt and regret that come from thinking and speaking things that we shouldn't. It is so much easier on everyone around us and even on ourselves to bless them rather than cursing them in our minds and with our mouths.